Hello everyone, welcome to another video from Fantasy Football Scout. I'm Az and I'm joined by the king of team news himself, Mr. Neale Rigg. How are you, Neale?
I'm very well, thank you, Az. Yeah. Very busy day today. We had 16 press conferences. It's nice when they're spread out on Thursday and Friday, but I haven't had that for a long time. It was 44 yesterday, and we've had a battery of 16, mostly over lunch. So I'm just picking up the tail end of it now. I think I've got everything down, but we'll talk it through team by team, see if I've missed anything.
So yesterday you sat there with your feet up, cocktail, just enjoying life, and then today happens and
Paying
it's...
for it now. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got quite a lot to get through. So let's go through these. A lot of stuff at the moment. Ronaldo is dominating a lot, so I've got a couple of quotes and stuff to talk about him as well, and obviously we've got press conferences from all the other sides now confirmed. So let's start at the top. Let's start with Arsenal. So two sort of key quotes from Arteta. Saka was limping after the match. We'll see today how he reacts. He had a knock, so he's a doubt for the game. And Ben White, asymptomatic, but he's feeling good, which means he's probably going to be back in contention after the international break. What do you reckon about Arsenal? They're starting to get some players back, right? The cup game, we saw a much stronger side for them.
Yeah, precisely that. So Lacazette off the bench. I think that was his first appearance since his quarantine period. Aubameyang, of course, scored a hat-trick in midweek, so we're probably expecting him to come in. They've been winging it really with Martinelli and Balogun before now. We've actually had an update since then. Arteta faced the media yesterday. As is often the case, Arsenal's medical department separately release a bulletin. And now this has come a day afterwards. So we've actually got some more up-to-date news. And Saka's fine. Same with Bellerin. Same with Tierney. And Runnison as well, the backup goalkeeper.
Oh, right.
So yeah.
I was going to ask about Tierney. So Tierney's recovered. That's quite good for him.
Yeah. Yeah, it did look good last week. I think we had a... looking on the negative side of things, but he was back in training pretty much straight away. Wasn't risked in midweek. And then the Arsenal medical department says he's available for selection, so there's no ambiguity about that. So he's absolutely fine. They still got a couple of flags, as you mentioned there. White, of course, being the main one, I suppose, from an FPL perspective. They didn't quite rule him out, which is why you only see 25% flag on FPL. But Arteta was saying he didn't think there was any chance of him recovering. There was a message saying they were monitoring his health and well-being ahead of the weekend, and I said the same about Willian last week, and he hasn't featured since. So yeah, I think we are looking at game week 4 for Ben White.
Yep.
Gabriel's back; he's playing for the under-23s, I think, today. So I think that just leaves Nketiah and Partey on the sidelines, both of which should be back after the international break.
Good. So some optimism for Arsenal ahead of 2 bad results for them. They're playing Manchester City. We've had Pep's conference. De Bruyne is getting better, but still not fit, so he won't be featuring. And then we've got this Cristiano Ronaldo stuff. So Pep's comments earlier were, I cannot say much. Cristiano Ronaldo is a Juventus player. In my personal view, there are a few players, Cristiano is one of them, who decide where they want to play. And it looks like he's decided that he doesn't want to play for Manchester City, given the most recent news. Or, it's kind of conflicting reports. Some are saying that City have pulled out the deal and never really went in. Others saying that Ronaldo's chosen United. But we know, don't we now, that he will not be going to Manchester City.
Yeah, a lot has happened in the last 2 hours. I mean, about 1 o'clock this afternoon, we were expecting Pep to bat away the questions about Ronaldo and say, no comment, he's someone else's player. He sort of did that. He did talk quite a lot about Kane, actually. He did confirm that City were very much in for him, but Daniel Levy shot down the negotiations pretty early on. Surprise, surprise.
Master negotiator, he calls him.
Yeah.
Very, very sarcastic press conference from him.
It was. I'm going to miss Pep when he goes in 2 years' time if he does leave. Not his team selections, by the way. But De Bruyne, as you said there, he's out, and Foden too. So that's the team he's sewn up pretty quickly. But yeah, this Ronaldo lark. City seem to be the front runners this morning. Now they've apparently dropped out a bit. We saw Simon Stone reporting the fact that they were given the opportunity to sign him and passed up on it. Well, that's the official view anyway. There might be some conflicting reports as to the narrative there. But yes, apparently Solskjaer was faced the media at the same time, said that he knows where we are. I think Bruno's been talking to him about coming back. And all of a sudden,
in fact, I've got the quote here. So So this is on the Manchester United website. This is from Solskjaer. I was fortunate enough to play with him. I coached him. He almost retired me because that Wolves game when I got injured, he kept switching sides. He's a tremendous human being, so let's see what happens. Everyone he's played with has a soft spot for him. I didn't think Cristiano was going to turn out to leave Juventus. It's been speculation. And then we've always had good communication. I know Bruno has been talking to him as well. He knows what we feel about him. If he was ever going to move on for Juventus, he knows that we are here. He's going, isn't he? He's going United.
Looks like it.
Yeah.
I think he's airbound as we film this. I think he was taking off from a flight in Turin. So we'll should know by the time this probably goes out where he's landed, where he's landing. And yeah, that's something to consider. There's my scout report sorted for the international break. It's going to be Ronaldo. What does it mean for Greenwood, Cavani, etc.?
I think that's my video sorted for the next 2 weeks as well. And I think it should be an easy street on Fantasy Scout with all
absolutely.
this. Yeah, it is really interesting. You know, I got to admit, it didn't really feel when I saw the rumours about him going to City, it didn't feel good. Like,
no,
you know what I mean. But like Henry going to Spurs or something, it just it feels a little bit dirty. So. Yeah, I'm excited to see him back in the Premier League again, and we're going to see what happens. Just moving back to Man City, any predictions on lineups? I mean, there's plenty of people with Mahrez out there, Torres, these guys. Gabriel Jesus played well. Any ideas, Neale, who's going to start against Arsenal?
I've not finalised it yet, but given how well Gabriel played as a right winger, mainly against Norwich, that doesn't bode well for Mahrez on the surface of it. Of course, Pep's done this plenty of times before, where he's champion one player 1 week and then benched him the next, so you're never completely sure. Torres, I suppose, the fact that De Bruyne is out, who's someone who can play as that false nine, the fact that Jesus played so well on the right, maybe that's good for Torres this weekend as the spearhead of that City attack. But I think really probably the players you're confident will be starting are the likes of Grealish and Gundogan, especially given De Bruyne's absence. You know, you need that sort of creative hub in the centre of the park. Bit more of a free-for-all further up the pitch, of course, but with the likes of Sterling, Bernardo, who got the nod over Sterling last week. So there's a lot to figure out. But I think Mahrez is. I think has he got a decent record against Arsenal, but he's it's that performance from Jesus on the right flank last week, and apparently he said to Pep, I don't know how true this is, that he wants to play on the right going forward. Yeah. So that's not good news for Mahrez.
No, and this is a funny thing with, you know, City's backup striker to no striker now wants to play on the right. It's like just adding more competition onto the right, where they've got Foden there, Sterling can play there. They've got so many options now, and I think Mahrez, you know, he doesn't have that versatility, does he, to play on the other wing?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I think he'd be a sell for me if I had him personally. All right, let's move over to Aston Villa. Dean Smith says Ollie Watkins will train today and will be available for selection if he comes through unscathed, but Bailey, Traore, Sanson and Davis are all still out. So we might finally see where the hell he's going to play Watkins and Ings.
Yeah, we saw a brief glimpse of it in pre-season, didn't we? There was a one warm-up match where I think they got a half together, and this was the game where Watkins picked up that injury, so we barely saw them. And Smith used a 4-4-2 in that game with both of them up top. And he's since come out and said that he doesn't envisage Watkins playing in a wide role. And he's done it before at Brentford, but that was a long time ago, and that's not his sort of remit now. So he's got to find a way of cramming them either both in central roles or, God forbid, benching one of them. That might happen tomorrow. That's not necessarily based on ability or anything, just more the fact that Watkins hasn't kicked a ball in 3 weeks. And the sort of fact that Villa played well in that system last week. Certainly that central midfield trio, Ramsey came and did very, very well. So he might be loath to shake it up this time. But yeah, going forward from Gameweek 4, especially when they've got Bailey and Traore back, they should both be back in Gameweek 4, according to Smith this morning. It'd be very interesting to see how he sets them up.
Yeah, I wonder if Watkins will play on the left because Bailey's out. Maybe he will just use him in that role, but not with the aim of doing that, you know, permanently going forward. But
yeah, maybe just like a temporary thing. Yeah, perhaps.
Interesting. So they're playing Brentford. Frank confirms that Ethan Pinnock trained yesterday and will be fit for Brentford's game against Aston Villa tomorrow. He had a bit of an ankle injury in the AFL Cup tie, but you know that's good. I mean, Brentford have been so good defensively so far. Their numbers are fantastic, 2 clean sheets, so that's good news for them against Villa, who've got that kind of one of the best players back.
Yeah, I haven't heard any other news. I'll look into Frank's press conference later on because there's people like Jensen who are flagged. But they've named an unchanged team in the first 2 games, Pinnock being part of that. And as you said there, he's been past fit. So I think we'll see a very, very, very similar team again, if not unchanged for the 3rd game week in a row.
I imagine so as well. Brighton, my boys, Graham Potter says he's hopeful that Neale Maupay could be involved against Everton. Quite a little bit non-committal there. Danny Welbeck could make the bench, so he's now back at training, I assume. He's over to training, and Mwepu looks like he's going to be out. Only has an outside chance. Veltman is confirmed out as well, but I believe he's back in training. I saw some pictures of him.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, Potter said I think this was earlier in the week that he wouldn't be ready until after the international break. It looks like. Same. Lamptey's going to step his recovery up in that fortnight as well. I think he'll be a little bit behind, even though he is stepping it up. I think he's still got quite a way to go yet. Maupay is an interesting one actually, because originally after he came off, Potter had said that he only had an outside chance of featuring in this game. That's been upgraded since, and he's even trained as of yesterday. So there's every chance he's back for this. I did see that Connolly was held back, wasn't he, in midweek? He didn't feature in that EFL Cup game. It was Zakiri up top, so he was obviously keeping Connolly back on the scenario of Maupay not being fit. Otherwise, you expect a very similar lineup, given what happened last weekend. Very, very impressive performance. We saw fringe players like Moda and Alzate and Mwepu playing in midweek. They got their minutes then, so you'd think it'd be a very, very similar side again with the likes of McAllister, who's looked more like what we promised, I think, when he first moved, and maybe Lallana in the middle of the part as well. So and Duffy for now,
4.1 million man. Yeah, I mean two great performances from Brighton so far, 2 wins.
Yep.
Everton's going to be tough, but hopefully we can get something. Yeah, I mean, Maupay's injury was kind of similar to the Tierney one. Like I saw it and was like, oh god, he's going to be out for ages. Yeah. And now they're both kind of almost like they could be back for the next game week. So it's interesting with that. Everton. You love Benitez, don't you? He's really your favourite. How's this for Vague? We have some players that are coming back and some players that we're missing. Delph has a problem with his shoulder. He will not be available. He's one of the names. I will not go with everyone. Unpack that for me, Neale.
Yeah, he's given us like the most useless bit of information. Like he's a double agent. He's feeding us the morsels of stuff that isn't really important. Delph being injured, no one cares. He's not going to make any difference anyway. We've got.
No one cares.
I suppose there are some things to report outside of Benitez's press conference. So yesterday, he spoke to Everton's media and said that Iwobi had a tight abductor from the cup game in midweek. He'd finished the game, I think, and sort of ploughed on, played through the PM barrier. They're going to assess him. Rodriguez has been back in training. Hopefully he knows who the opposition is this week. Apparently he was on his stream on Twitch, wasn't he, last week, and didn't know who Everton were playing.
Unbelievable.
In his absence, but he's been back in training. Godfrey, I think we thought would be back. He travelled with the squad in that midweek game. I think it was against Huddersfield. I may be wrong. But he didn't play. They weren't risked as a precaution. Hasn't been seen though in training pitches since, at least not yesterday. So still a bit of doubt over whether he's available. He's probably their best centre half, certainly on current form. And of course, Keane suspended. He was sent off in that Carabao Cup tie, so he's out. But gradually getting those sort of COVID bodies back. And Iwobi is the only fresh one from the EFL Cup.
Did I read something about Calvert-Lewin playing with a slight injury?
Yes. Yeah, this was. I mean, it wasn't. I couldn't see why people were panicked when they saw the quote come out and Benitez talking about Calvert-Lewin with a toe problem. But this was more the fact that he'd missed a chunk of training in pre-season with this issue and is still performing so well, even at sort of 75% match fitness. So in another way of looking at it is he's actually going to get better once he's fully sharp. But it hasn't stopped him from playing so far, and I've got absolutely no reason to suspect it'll keep him out this weekend.
No reason to concern yourself if you have Calvert-Lewin. He's only going to get better, says Neale. So that's good to know. I'll be bringing him in, I think, over the international break.
Me too.
Yeah, it just makes sense. Newcastle, so Steve Bruce expects Maximan to be okay. Dummett is also back in contention. Hayden remains touch and go, but other than that, they seem to be looking okay. Anything to add to that? I mean, Sir
Yeah.
Maximan is obviously a huge. They need him.
We do, yeah. We've still got the two goalkeepers out, of course, Darla and Dubravka. Shelby's out as well with a calf problem. But St Maximum's the sort of the standout one from that press conference. Bruce says he's hopeful of him being fit. I'm sure he will be. He stayed on the pitch till the end against Burnley on Wednesday, missed a penalty, of course. I suppose Hayden being out is significant to an extent because it would mean likely, I would think, just a more attacking midfield and more openness at the back against Southampton, because we haven't really got a sort of a defensive midfielder outside of Hayden. We've got Hendrick, but he's sort of neither here nor there really. And Shelby being out he's kind of the fulcrum of that midfield as well. So I think we're there for the taking at the moment, really, to be honest. I think I can understand why people are backing like Sir Adam Armstrong. I noticed he was well picked in the scout squad this week, and I do worry about us at the moment. I think once you've got everyone back, and everyone's fit, we are a force to be contended with in the bottom half. But at the moment, we're wide open.
Yeah. How about Southampton? I mean, a big win for them in the cup. Rest for quite a lot of their players. I mean, Walker Peters got a start, but on the left.
Yeah.
I was surprised at that, which is good for me as a new Livramento owner, who I assume is going to come back into the side. But yeah, any updates with any of their team?
Yeah, just one injury report. That's Stuart Armstrong, not Adam. He's out with a small problem, and he joined Smallbone, who's a longer-term absentee. They're the only two injuries. Again, more positive words from Hasenhüttl on Livramento this week. I think this was part of his embargo section last night. Again, just singing his praises and saying what a talent they've got on their hands. He's been named in the England under-21 squad, I think, as well. Yeah. So let's hope he doesn't come back with an illness or an injury over the international break.
Don't say that. Yeah, he's had a price rise now as well. He's got to be the only player to have blanked twice and managed to still get a price rise. It's very interesting. I think Zofar posted earlier. It does show, I think, that there's more aware people now playing FPL, catching those price rises. Because a few years ago, there never would have been a player like that who'd blanked twice and went up so quickly. Exactly. So
because the Simicast thing, you can put that down to casuals, not realising Robertson's back and just looking at the points.
Exactly.
But Livramento on paper, it doesn't look like he's done anything.
No,
but
it'd be like bottom
word
of
is obviously
points.
spread.
Yeah, absolutely. Leicester. So really interesting to get your views on Leicester. Brendan Rodgers has confirmed that Vestergaard is out of the Norwich trip, but Bertrand's back after recovering from COVID. I mean, I can't predict Leicester. I don't know how I'm really interested to see your team prediction for Leicester, because I have no idea who we're going to play, where they're going to play. Yeah, what do you reckon on them this week?
I've gone with Pereira playing further up the flank. That was my first instinct when Perez got suspended on Monday night, and looking at Rodgers' quotes from yesterday, he says that they want someone who can penetrate with or without the ball, someone who can deliver quality, and someone who can press the game when we don't have the ball. So he's talking quite a lot there about off the ball requirements, which. It's a bit like, as I said on Twitter yesterday, it was a bit like sort of through the keyhole. You're trying to guess someone's start based on a series of ambiguous clues about their personality and skill set. So, has Iheanacho or Daka got that sort of requisite off the ball ability? I don't know. I did put it out to Leicester fans actually on Twitter yesterday and asked who you think he's talking about, and a lot of them said Ricardo. They thought Ricardo. That's the sort of word on the ground. Albrighton's got another possibility. He's got that work ethic. Of course, if Pereira goes further up the flank, that means Castagna coming in probably at right back. Castagna is also someone who can play as a centre half as well, so he's got the option of choosing between systems. I think most of the 11, apart from that, is fine, easy to predict, apart from probably Harvey Barnes, because we're not quite sure. If he sticks with 4-2-3-1, then he's obviously starting, you would think. He's the only real sort of left winger. If it's not that, then we might have a problem on our hands, because how do you fit in, for example, two strikers, someone alongside Vardy and Maddison and Barnes? You'd have to go with a very attacking 4-4-2 maybe, with Maddison on the right or Barnes on the right, something like that, which seems a lot of square pegs in round holes. And how he did it last year, which was the wing-back system with a number 10 playing in behind Iheanacho and Vardy. You think that'll be Maddison. So nervous Barnes owners, I'm amongst them. It's just a fixture that's made me keep them to this point. But hopefully they are playing tomorrow, aren't they? So and we've got 11 o'clock in the morning to make our decisions. Yeah, they're playing at 3 o'clock. So hopefully, we might get one of the Leicester mob on Twitter giving us a few more clues before then. But
yeah, I've sold him. I got rid of him.
Have you?
I can't see how he can play if Iheanacho plays, and I can't see how Iheanacho can't play, because I just think they need him. He's missed the first 2 games. They've looked poor. They need to get him in the side, and I think if he plays in the side, I can't really see how Barnes does. But equally, I think like you say, with Vestergaard out, with 5 at the back, they don't have 3 centre backs that can play there. So it was just too much uncertainty for me. So yeah, I've binned him off, and I've made 0.3 off the back of it already because I moved for Ben Rama. So yeah, I think if you've got him and he starts, you've done well. I think you should do right in it. But yeah, it was a bit too much of a risk for me. What about Norwich? Are Norwich looking all right going into this game?
Yeah, two of the new lads, Sargent and I'm just going to call him the Greek winger because I haven't mastered his name yet. Solis, that's what it looks like. They both picked up injuries in midweek. Sargent looks all right. I think Fark was confident of him featuring. The Greek winger, not so much. I think he's going to be assessed over the next 24 hours. And they've also got Mumba out and Plachetta still out as well. Apart from that, I think everything's all right.
Yep. West Ham Palace was pretty boring. I saw David Moyes reports a few knocks, but the squad is generally fine. Apart from Arthur Masuaku, who should be back after the international break. And I believe Vieira for Palace has said that they're all ready to go, right?
Yeah, you've summed it up nicely there. I think the only footnote to that, Palace's Milivojevic is still out. It was personal reasons. Now it's lack of match fitness, but yeah, otherwise injury free.
That's good. So we might start seeing some of these players actually coming into Palace, starting to see the system that Vieira wants to instill, and yeah, he can't blame injuries if they don't do very well over the next few weeks. So
I should just specify, sorry, as it's the long term ones obviously still out, like Eze and Olise. It's rather nothing news.
Yeah, nothing new.
Since Gameweek 2. Yeah.
No knocks and niggles, which is good. Yeah, that was an easy one. Liverpool. So we moved from the Greek winger to the Greek fullback. The big news is all around Tsimikas and Robertson. Klopp has said Robertson is now back in training since yesterday. He was training early enough to be in the squad last week. And then a weird comment, I thought, it's not that we now open the race and say, okay, Robbo, whatever you did in the last few years, I don't care. Which seems a weird addition to the first bit, but I guess he's saying Robertson's going to come back in. That's what I take from it.
Yeah, I think as well as he's done, and he has exceeded expectations, really, not just in FPL circles, but he's performed really well. Looked Robertson-esque. In fact, that assist for Jota was very Robertson-esque.
It was.
Sort of low, flighted cross, wasn't it? But, given the calibre of opponent, Tsimikas has faced, Norwich and Burnley so far. Chelsea's a far, far superior test, and I'll be astonished if Robertson doesn't come back in. Otherwise, I guess it's just Milner who's out. And that's it, yeah, because Robertson's fine. Fabinho and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain had missed out last weekend for personal reasons, but they have both been back in training.
Yep.
Fabinho would think would come in for this. He often plays in games of this magnitude, so just a question of who starts up top, really, because Jota's obviously done very well, 2 goals. Firmino brings something else to the table, doesn't he? He's Klopp's kind of favourite in games of this size. He started all 10 of the big 6 matches last season, Firmino. Jota didn't start once ahead of him. He did feature alongside him a couple of times. There was that ridiculous, he played 4-4-2 against City earlier in the season. So a bit of uncertainty there up top. But Jota's proven how much damage he can do off the bench. He scored 4 or 5 times off the bench last season. So and we don't know what's happening after the international break yet. So maybe he's a hold if you've got Jota for now.
Yep. Just coming back to Tsimikas quickly, because Lynn reminds me of another quote that Klopp made. Both, as in Tsimikas and Robertson, will get games this season. I don't like it when players say battle for a position. It's up to them to give me a decision to make. They are my decisions. And I think he then went on to say that he expects them both to play over the season minutes. I mean, surely he's not going to rotate Robertson.
No, what he said was, I expect them both to play if there are injuries. So I think what he's saying there is, get back in your corner, Tsimikas, because Robertson's going to be playing every game that he's fit for, really. Yeah. He will play. I'm sure he'll play in the FA Cup. I get what Klopp was saying more. He was saying that last season we couldn't really throw him in because we were having so many problems at centre half. Changing your left back would be just adding to the chaos. So Robertson, I think, was ever present last season. I think we will see him more this time. Robertson might get the odd bench in the league.
Yeah.
But he'll be a cup left back, I'm sure, mostly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And Chelsea, anything to report from Chelsea, the Chelsea camp?
Yes, I think Pulisic is still out. I've seen that reported by a Guardian journalist. Zuma is on his way to West Ham. It looks like he wouldn't have played in this one anyway because he's got personal issues that he's addressing in France. So they're both out. I think that's it. Otherwise, though, haven't seen anything reported unless there's stuff coming out later on tonight.
Kind of feels that other than Arsenal, a lot of teams are fairly strong. There's not huge injuries. I mean, City have obviously got De Bruyne out, and there's a couple of ones, but a lot of teams were kind of saying, "Oh, well, there's nothing new," and their teams are mostly fully fit. So that's.
I think the bulk of the flags at the minute are sort of match fitness. Like whether people have just come back from isolation or have been in quarantine, and there's not many sort of, as you said, headline injuries knocking about.
No, interesting. Leeds. So Leeds, another team that's getting someone back. So Llorente, Bielsa says is ready for 90 minutes, or he thinks he's ready for 90 minutes. And Ruben Koch, he says he's evolving but not completely healthy, so probably not ready to start. But getting Llorente back is obviously good news for them.
Yeah, I think by all accounts, he's their best centre half. Really, he was sort of kind of signed as not an afterthought, but he was less heralded, I think, on his arrival. But he's sort of proven himself as very influential. I don't think there's any coincidence that Leeds really improved in the second half of last season when he came back fit. He was injured for the first part of the campaign, and they've looked a bit ragged without him in the first two games. And I think he got 45 minutes in midweek in the EFL Cup. Bielsa says he's ready. So yeah, just Koch, who's out with a pubis problem. So insert jokes there.
No comment. And Burnley, anything from Burnley? How are Longy and Vids and Woody and all those guys?
Well, Longy and Stevensy are both out still. They're still sidelined. Vids and Westy are back in training, so it's looking good for those two. Dice says he's confident of those two being back in. Of course, Westwood was never present last season, so
Westy.
You think he comes back in? Yeah, Westy.
I'm going to need you to get all their names. When we do Burnley on these, Neale, we're going to need nicknames only, I think. Longy's my favourite. That's the best one.
Longy, yeah. I don't know if he's got one for Hennessy. I don't know. He's sort of,
I don't know.
Maybe he bought him because he's already got a Y on the end of his name.
Yeah,
that's why he snapped him.
That's why. Yeah, so he's got rid of him.
Yeah.
Spurs. Well, let's start with the boring side, which is Nuno saying Spurs are without Joe Rodon and Cartel Vickers. Not the most exciting, but obviously the big news is that Harry Kane will be staying. Huge for them.
He is, yeah. He's come out and said it himself. Was it yesterday or the day before? Can't remember when it was.
It was Wednesday.
But he's Wednesday, was it? He's put it to bed now till January. He's staying and played against in the Conference League. Last night, scored twice.
Yep.
Will be back in the running this weekend. Whether he'll start or not, I'm not too sure. You'd think he would, but that front three's played so well with Son as the spearhead that maybe there's an element of doubt there. They kind of missed a Kane type last weekend. I think Wolves were kind of on top for a long period of that game. Maybe it was because Spurs took the lead early and invited pressure, but I think there's still an element of doubt whether he starts. But of course, medium term, he's going to be back in that starting 11, and be interested to see how Son sort of fares alongside him, because traditionally you've got a good relationship. I saw Sam's article this week saying that Spurs wingers are playing a bit more narrow this season. So Son closer to Kane. So I don't think it does him any damage necessarily not playing as that sort of false nine. And Son actually, I should mention Son because Son was I guess a slight doubt. He limped gingerly back onto the field last week, but nothing reported since. And I think Nuno came out and said he was all right. So no concerns there.
Yep. So you're expecting Son and Kane to start, would you say?
Son definitely, Kane probably.
Very non-committal, Neil. I like it. United next. So we've covered Ronaldo already, so I won't mention him again. So if you're just new to the video, then go back and watch. That was right at the start. But Solskjaer said we're missing Scott McTominay, which is quite a big news for defenders of United. I think he's had surgery as well, so obviously going to be out for a little while. Marcus Rashford, Telles, Dean Henderson, they're not ready. But apart from that, we have a fit squad ready to fight for points. So Rashford's back quicker than we thought.
Yeah, I think he's still got a little while to go, I think. He was out till October originally, wasn't he? I think it ruled out. I may have missed a quote. Did you say he was going to be back for Game Week 4? Or is he just... he's back in light training.
Rashford.
Yeah.
I think I'm just surprised that he was back in training. I thought he was going to be out, for, well, like you say, for like another month until he was a factor. But he might be back next month, right?
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit sooner, but not. I don't think Game Week 4. He's back on the grass, and obviously that's still a long way to go before you're resuming full training. He'll have various conditioning things to do with the medical team, working on individual fitness, and then he'll be back in full training. So I don't think Game Week 4. But yeah, maybe the original prognosis was October, so maybe that's going to be slightly brought forward. So that'll add to the mix when Ronaldo signs and got Rashford in there, Cavani's fit, and Phil Jones might be back by that point as well. So
I hope so.
A wealth of options.
Yeah, Greenwood owners will be sweating a bit, I think, with this Ronaldo news because with Sancho, surely it's going to be Ronaldo, Sancho, and Rashford as the main front three, unless Sancho goes over to the left and then it's Rashford and Greenwood fine. I don't know. They've got a lot of attacking options now, so it's tricky. Anything on Wolves? I saw they rejected a loan bid for Traore from Spurs. Anything else to report?
That smacks of Levy, that doesn't it?
It does,
I'm not going to pay any money.
Absolutely, yeah.
They've got Bolly and Mosquera back in training. They're two of their centre halves who were injured with hamstring problems. They're back in training now. Bolly, I think, was already on the grass, so he's probably nearing a return. Other than that, I think nothing new to report.
Nothing new to report. Well, that's it. That's all 20 teams. We've flown through that this time around. Unless there's anyone I've forgotten that you want to mention?
I don't think so. I'm just having to whiz through the team news tab now. I don't think we have, actually. I think we've covered everything.
Covered them all. Straight in. Easy stuff. Neil, as I said, king of team news. Thank you so much for joining me. It'd be interesting. I'm interested to see some of the lineups, like City, for example. We start to see Arsenal with their players coming back. See how Liverpool fare with Robertson. Yeah, there's lots of exciting things. Like it does feel like normally each week teams seem to get weaker, but it does really feel that at the moment teams are getting stronger because they're getting players back, like you mentioned, from full fitness. So yeah, just we need an international break. They'll all jet off and then they'll all come back with injuries and knocks and stuff as well, and quarantines and everything. Yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting time. But Neil, thank you so much, and thanks everyone for joining us, and we will see you for the team news next week.